I'm gonna introduce you guys to my little friend over here, okay? See this right here? See if you can get a good picture of him. This right here, this is Aries Frost. He's an all white, the most beautiful cat on the planet, okay? So this is Aries Frost, okay? And I was gonna make a video on like something else, but the thing is the cats told me to make a video, and that's what I'm gonna do. The cats basically from outside, along with my cat over here, okay? The one that lives in the house with me. Let's start off with this, okay? Because I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where a lot of people just they want to be professionals as far as cats go, and what the proper diet for a cat should be, or modifications of what you can do with a cat. Now, a cat, okay, is an obligate carnivore, okay? This is scientific fact. Obligate carnivores, okay? Now, when you look at what they would naturally be inclined to want to eat, naturally as far as food goes, would be meat. If I put a piece of fruit or some greens on the floor and I put a piece of meat next to it, they're gonna go for the piece of meat, okay? A child, for example, if you put vegetables in a plate and a fruit in another plate, they're gonna naturally go toward the fruit because the fruit tastes better, right? See, kids don't even like to eat meat as you know, when they're little. And this is actually something that I've observed in my own child, plus the children of like my sister and friends that I've had. They don't like to eat meat. You get what I'm saying? It's just that after a while, they'll just start eating it because of so much of, you know, the parents trying to force it into them, because they think that this is something that they need as far as like protein goes for development and all that kind of shit, which I'm not going to get into in this video. We'll make another video on that. But a cat is naturally inclined toward going toward meat over being a vegan, okay? Let's talk about natural. Now, as far as diseases go, here's where my mind is toward like this topic of diseases, because as an iridologist, I don't even believe in the area of disease. However, an owner can give or have their pet develop a disease based on their mindset. The more you project a disease onto an animal, the more they're more likely to get it, even though you didn't intentionally mean to do that. And I'm gonna tell you why. You may gain a lot of information online, especially, and you think that what you're doing is correct. Let's say you're giving your cat a vegan diet, okay? And you buy vegan food, you do all this, and you're really convinced that this animal is thriving on a vegan diet. He most likely will more than likely strive on that vegan diet. But the moment that you keep watching videos to kind of challenge your beliefs as to, you know, that the vegan diet is doing any good for your animal, the moment you have that slight bit of doubt, there's always room for infiltration, for things to happen in your life. This is why you have to be solid in what you know and in what you're doing, and not let anybody move you in any kind of way, if that's your path, okay? Now, understand one thing. One person may say that a vegan diet is healthier for a cat as an alternative, right? Aside from like, you know, being vegan, you know, they say that it's for ethical reasons and whatnot. An animal doesn't understand that. Those are your beliefs, and your beliefs form your world. And a lot of vegans push their beliefs on other people. And pushing a belief on somebody pushes people away to some extent. You get what I'm saying? You could even hear this with financial gurus. There's a certain way for you to be more attractive. You get what I'm saying? And it doesn't involve you pushing yourself on people, and the way you may push this information on people may draw people further away from what it is that you're trying to do, okay? Or to try to buy into your beliefs, okay? A cat, none of these animals have any moral views about veganism. These are your moral views, and you want to push them onto an animal who was designed to be a carnivore. You think that vegan options are healthier or just as healthy as the options that a pet owner who's giving them regular, you know, cat food is giving them. However, they're both processed the exact same way. They're both processed. If you're giving them kibbles, they're processed like 5 times under extreme heat, completely making the food just a matter of nothing. It's just fucking kibble. That's all it is. It's not even food. It's a kibble. I mean, they spray it with fucking meat flavoring to have the animal want to eat it. Other than that, it wouldn't even taste or smell like a kibble. And half of these kibbles, if you notice that when you taste them, they don't taste good. But when you do taste them, they taste like cereal. Like if you were having a brand cereal. All right? There's carbohydrates in those kibbles. And the kibbles are not designed for the cat to be able to process, because the kibbles are dehydrated food. And a cat has very powerful kidneys. In fact, the cat are mainly, they're sourced from the wildest cat are desert dwelling animals. And the way they actually get their food is from the prey they eat. In fact, if a cat has to drink water, that's not even a good thing. They should never really feel too inclined to want to drink water, because their water is coming from the prey they eat, which is the meat, okay? And not in a dehydrated, cooked state. Because even having raw food and then cooking it is also not good for the cat. This is where you start to develop human-like diseases on the animal, okay? An animal should never have a human disease, which doesn't even exist, such as diabetes or cancer or anything like that. When in the wild do you see an animal having these human-like diseases? Now, the thing is that when they're also eating kibble and they're drinking water, you're not giving them good water to begin with. You're giving them either faucet water or spring water, which is alkalized with these inorganic minerals, okay? So the fact that these kibbles are imbalancing the chemistry, and you're further doing it now by giving them faucet water or some type of water that's fucking alkalized, or mineral water, whatever it may be, this is not good water for them to drink. This is what's causing urinary blockages in their system, is the type of water that they drink, because they're dehydrated originally from the foods they're eating. And don't forget that these grains, okay, actually mess up the pH of the animals, their pH levels, their natural pH levels they're supposed to have in their body when they're eating kibbles, okay? Now, when you feed them wet food, okay, wet food has been heat processed and heat treated as well, okay? Regardless if it's vegan or not vegan. So regardless of where you want to feed them and you say this is a healthier option or not, they're both unhealthy. Now, even if you go to the supermarket and buy them raw food, this is still not healthy, okay? Because these foods are basically, you're giving them the food, and it's not natural, in a sense where most of the nutrients, when they're eating a balanced diet, they'll eat it from animals that they hunt. And aside from that, the mental stimulation they get when they go out and hunt an animal is what they're naturally inclined to be doing. This is what keeps them actually thriving. Because most of the time you'll hear people, my animal is thriving. Are they thriving, or are they just surviving? Because even surviving, I use that word very loosely. Surviving could be looked at in two different ways. Sir, like surcharge and whatnot. When you look at the word survive, it could be overliving rather than just living. But overliving in the wild, their survival, that's their natural state. But when you look at it from this terminology, as far as for the sake of conversation, thriving would be in nature, surviving would just be under you. Because here's the thing though, you're giving them chicken, you're giving them pork, you're giving them pieces of animals that they normally wouldn't hunt, because these animals are much bigger than them. That's why you shouldn't give a cat tuna, because tuna, for one, is a very large animal, is much larger than they are, and they actually saturated in heavy metals. So you would give them something maybe like sardines, which would be a lot better, right? However, like I said, the stimulation that they would get by hunting the animal is what keeps the animal actually really thriving, okay? As far as evolutionary states go, as far as like, and I believe in energy and what happens, how you live here and how you go afterwards, okay? If you want to look at everything from a totality, outside the box type of point of view, okay? Because even humans aren't living the way humans are designed to that are supposed to be living. You're living in just survival state as well. You're not really thriving in society or in your life. And I'll make a separate video on that, on the human part, okay? Because here's the thing though, you have a cat or a dog. First of all, they're distractions to begin with. They're big distractions. Your own family members are distractions. Now, this sounds cruel and whatnot, but we have pets. I have the pet, right? However, I'm very aware of the fact that an animal should be hunting their food. An animal such as like these animals, they're natural born predators. They're actually a very, matter of fact, the cats that are outside, I remember I was sitting there and I'm enjoying a certain, there was a bird that was on top of one of my patio chairs, okay? And I'm looking at this bird, and the bird, I could have sworn it was talking to me. You know what I'm saying? You know, singing and talking, and I was like, wow, I'm just like sitting there, just looking at it. And then from the chair, it went down to one of my pots, and out of nowhere, I just seen that fucking bird get tore up by one of the cats that I have outside. I was like, holy yo, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, what the fuck? It was almost traumatizing. I'm telling you, it was almost, so they're very beautiful creatures, but they're ferocious little motherfuckers, right? I saw another one where they're basically, they hunted a mouse. The ones outside, not mine, but the ones outside hunted a mouse, and they're playing with it. It's almost like they're torturing it. And the mouse is like trying to run away. There's 3 cats literally like, the mouse is in the middle and the 3 cats are basically like ganging up on it. And wherever it tries to go, the cat kind of pounces on it, shakes it up a little bit, and then tosses it on the ground. They're just toying with it to basically torture it. And now we look at that and we say that's abuse. Are they looking at it like that though? Sometimes they'll bring you the mouse as a prize for you, the human, to say, look what I got. But we look at this as animal abuse, right? Listen, I don't eat meat right now. I'm not eating meat, okay? But I'm not a vegan because I'll eat eggs from time to time, right? I'm not also going to polarize to an idea of veganism or even carnivore or anything like that. I basically know what I want, when I want it, and when I actually need it. That's the whole thing, okay? Now, a lot of people, for example, in the vegan community, in the carnivore community, all right, they've got health conditions, health problems. And this could be stemming from not just the fact that they're so focused on what they're eating, because in actuality, you should not be living your life revolved around what you're eating. Your lifestyle revolves around what you're eating. Sometimes I'm out here and I forget to eat, like I said, right? I forget to eat. I don't even eat sometimes. I eat just when I'm hungry. And when I eat, I know what I want to eat when I want to eat it. That's the whole thing. I let myself get hungry enough to know what I actually need at that moment. And true hunger would come from a sensation in your throat. It doesn't even come from your stomach. Most of the time, those rumbling pains is just fucking thirst. Because humans are dehydrated as well. And the key to health is hydration. And if your animal's ever dehydrated, you're not giving them a biologically appropriate diet, regardless of how much water they're drinking. Because you could be drinking all the water you want. If I water my plant in a pot and I put a gallon of water in the pot, that gallon of water is not what the plant drank. Most of that water came out the bottom of the drain hole. Yeah, you watered the plant. But the moment I put it outside in 98-degree weather, in a couple of hours, that plant is dried up again. Okay? But it never drank that gallon of water. So look at the body, or the you're not absorbing the water. But when the pH goes from hot to maybe a little more neutral-based dominance, and it's a little cooler, what ends up happening? The conditions of the soil stay moist a lot longer, right? And it all comes down to bacteria. Humans are more worried about how they clean the cat's teeth or their dog's teeth. They don't clean it by kibbles. People say that their teeth are clean with kibbles. That's not even true. You actually make their teeth dirtier with that. And what's cleaning their teeth, believe it or not, is actually bacteria. Bacteria from the foods that they're hunting outside. Grinding on bones, tendons. This is how they clean their teeth. So if you have a cat or a dog and you're not giving it a biologically appropriate diet, eventually you'll have problems. This is just like humans. Humans evolved to be able to live on meat, you know what I'm saying? But with long-term effects, meat is the leading cause of diabetes. And you think it's sugar. But meat is the leading cause of diabetes. Animal protein. Regardless of, it's not just meat, it's fish, chicken, all that. It's the complex chemistry the body has to pull apart to utilize its information. If you look at the digestive tract of the cat, it's much shorter. It's actually smooth, not ridged like ours. And they have these powerful acids in the body to actually break down the meat, even bones, if they eat the bone. And most of the nutrients, if you want to call it balanced diet for an animal, most of the nutrients are actually in the head of whatever prey they're eating, whether it be a bird, a mouse, whatever it may be. It's in the eyes, the brain, the tongue, the whole head area. It has a lot of nutrients that the cat or the dog, whatever animal you have, may be lacking. So you compensate by supplementing. You get certain supplements like these kibbles and whatnot, say with added taurine. So taurine is the main amino acid that the cat needs to actually thrive, and it's the only way they get it is through animal flesh. So it's in a supplemental form in the kibble. All these supplements, you live your life on supplements. You get what I'm saying? And the humans are the same exact way. So they're naturally supposed to be outside hunting their prey. However, we have them in our homes, and we have to give them whatever foods are available in the market for them, whether it be pet food or whether it be a raw diet that you may decide to give them. But even though raw diet wouldn't be, because there's something else, if you want to look at it by layers of how this shit actually works, there's something called life force energy that the cat actually really thrives in when they're eating meat. See, I had reptiles at one point. I had an iguana. Iguanas naturally live in the wild eating fruits, berries, and certain vegetation, right? However, there's pellets that would mimic the nutritional value that you would find in that would mimic the nutritional value that you would find in fruits, right? However, the water content is not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? And aside from that, they're dependent on sunlight to help them with their metabolizing. So you put an artificial sun lamp there for them to aid in that digestive process that they would if they were in nature. But you see how much artificial shit you have to give them just to have the animals survive, not thrive. You know what I'm saying? These animals naturally live in the wild. We just use them as pets for our entertainment and for these purposes. You hear what I'm saying? And the whole thing is that one would say I'm a hypocrite because I have a pet. I don't really own the pet. These animals actually go in and out of the house, and aside from that, they were born in my garden. Why are these things happening? I guess everything, to me, I take it as lessons. I take everything as lessons. But I'm also open-minded toward people's views, the way they see things, but I like to put my point of view toward the way I see things. You get what I'm saying? I love animals, but I don't think they should be, you never really, do you own your pet? A lot of the pets own their owners, actually. Because people actually, they live for the pet. So the pet actually owns you, okay? You're at the mercy of these animals. Sometimes you gotta fucking set your house up for these pets, you know? So who actually owns who? Now, this is also very important, okay? Communication with your animals goes beyond you just talking like you would with a human, okay? So a lot of the times, a lot of the things here that we look at as far as like, you know, communication with your animal goes into you understanding body language of the animal and actually listening to how they meow to know they need something, okay? So there's something else I wanted to cover. Okay, so the reptiles, and then you can't, like, so that's basically where you look at it from, like, surviving to thriving. If I take, for example, I have a garden, okay? There's carnivorous insects and there's vegan insects. We actually depend on the carnivorous insects to balance out our ecosystem in the garden so that the vegan insects don't eat the foods that you're growing in your garden, okay? As far as your plants, your fruits and whatnot. So you depend on these carnivorous insects. That's why everything is needed in nature. These carnivorous animals form a balance in the ecosystem as well, okay? They've actually formed a balance in my garden as well. Praying mantises, for example, okay, eat insects that are alive, right? They don't really like to hunt the insects when they're dead. You get what I'm saying? They'd rather have it while it's alive. For example, if you have snakes, certain reptiles, you feed them feeder mice for you to actually give it to them right? And some people actually enjoy watching their animal eat. Oh, wow, look at how he tore up that mouse, right? You can actually do this with a cat. However, how humane and how fucking brutal would that look to another individual who has a different point of view as to how that actually happens? You technically are supposed to be feeding your cats either feeder mice, fucking little things that they can actually hunt. That's what you should be feeding them. Not cat food, not even supermarket pet food. A real balanced diet would be you feeding the animal feeder mice, like you do a snake or like you do with these reptiles. If you want to mimic it as natural as it's supposed to be for that animal to actually thrive. Let them go in and out of the house and whatnot, because they actually need the stimulation of the outdoors versus what you have set up in your house. You know what I'm saying? However, you can't do that most of the time because either neighbors most likely will actually be feeding them, or you'll never see your cat again because they will actually be taken by somebody else, especially if they're a very tamed creature. Or they could get run over by a car. They may impregnate other cats outside, and that would be a huge problem because they actually reproduce like a motherfucker. You hear what I'm saying? So I hope all these little points, I'm not polarizing to any of these ideas for anybody that watches this video to say that, you know, my point of view is going against what a vegan would look at. I don't really care how you look at life, honestly. I don't care if you're a vegan. I have vegan friends, you know? More power to you. There may be times we go to a restaurant, they buy vegan options. I don't. But right now, I'm not eating meat. There was a point where I was vegan for 2 years, over 2 years, and it was great. And I was eating meat again, and I see the differences. You know what I'm saying? And right now, I'm not eating any kind of animal flesh at all. Nothing that ever had a heart or blood flowing through it. But eggs, I mean, whatever. That's the only thing that I haven't let go of. I let go of all dairy, yogurts, cheeses, all that. Only thing I'm eating is eggs. Everything else is just no animal products for me. But I'm not doing it for the ethical purposes of it. I'm doing it for, it's a huge reset for me. And if in actuality, in my opinion, I don't think anybody should be eating meat. And if you do, I think you're eating too much meat. And this is what's causing a problem. When you're younger, you could eat whatever you want and you stay lean all the time because you recover from these foods you eat. When you get older, you tend to take a longer time to recover from these foods because the download takes a little bit longer than when you're a child and you got something called growth hormone in your body. But, you know, to be honest with you, man, the spiritual connection between you and the animal, when you're trying to do it as natural as possible for the animal, you'd be surprised how much deeper that gets, you know? Because you may think you're doing the right thing sometimes and you may not. I may not even be, I may be talking shit here. And a disclaimer, I'm not an animal professional. I am an iridologist and a healer, you know, and I'm also a nutritional coach, which is what I do in my human life. So I'm flexing on that so that, you know, YouTube or anybody that watches this video can know I have credentials to talk about certain things. I'm not a medical doctor, so do your own research. But when you look at certain pets you have, I don't think any pet should be a pet, to be honest with you. I think these pets that we have that came from the wild version of them are just genetically modified animals, all just to keep the economy moving and for distractions of the human being. That's what I think it is, you know? Dogs came from wolves, cats came from wild cats in the wild, desert dwelling creatures. And then they genetically modified them to make these animals pets. But anyway, if I missed something out, I'll make it another video. We'll talk soon.